Now before we get into the video, I do want to say a massive thank you to today's video sponsors, and once again that is jerseyfifa.com. They really do help keep the content on this channel going, and they even sent me a free shirt which you can see on screen here. And as you can see, I got the new Manchester United home kit, and genuinely the kit really is top quality. I highly recommend their product. So make sure to get in a link in the description down below, and now if you use code JerseyFifa at checkout, you'll get 10% off your order. You get a great football shirt, and you help support the channel, which I really do appreciate massively. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today we are talking about what I think everyone would agree is the form side in the Premier League at the moment. That is of course Arsenal. They are the only team to have won their opening 4 games of the season, and it leaves them top of the league. And actually, just quickly before we get into the rest of this video, I have recorded this video once, well at least I thought I had. I done the whole thing and forgot to press record. So yeah, we really are working at a pro level here. You're watching one of the greats. So hopefully this time everything works, nothing corrupts, and you guys get this video. If not, I'm just talking to myself. But yeah, Arsenal, they are the form side in the Premier League this season at the moment. So I thought today we would talk about what is giving them this good form. What is Arteta doing differently to last season? And for me, there is 2 key words for this Arsenal side at the moment. One of them is pinning. P-I-N-N-I-N-G, pinning, which we will come back to slightly later on in the video, and the other is flexibility. Not in terms of we're seeing loads of different formations or starting personnel, but just little tactical tweaks and shapes we are seeing in certain in-game situations. So let's just get started. So if you remember last season, we covered quite a lot of Arsenal games, and they were often using a bit of a 2-4 shape like this, or a 2-3 shape like this, but the fullbacks were reasonably wide. Now, one thing we're seeing change already is Xhaka is constantly playing this higher position, and the fullbacks aren't as wide as what they were last year, and that is not surprising at all when you sign Zinchenko at left back. Now, we know that Pep Guardiola regularly uses inverted fullbacks, and that was something that Zinchenko done a lot last year, so naturally he is happy to play this position. On the right hand side it has been Ben White for the opening games of the Premier League season, and again, because he is a centre back and he has also played holding midfield, he naturally wants to play in a slightly more central area anyway. So that is giving Arsenal very natural inverted fullbacks. What we then see is the attack push much higher and wider, pinning the opposition back and stopping them from coming forward. And actually we see some Pep Guardiola resemblances with this setup, because when you play against a back 4 and play a back 5, you can see the channels where you can attack. Let me draw this on the screen for you here. You've got a player in this space here, in here, in here, in here, and then Saka would be out wide of this fullback like this. And that's what we're seeing from Arsenal early on, and it's very similar to what Manchester City do. In terms of at the back when they're building possession, it depends on the formation they're facing, what kind of system and setup they use. Typically it is this 2-3 shape, and I think that is Arteta's preferred method of ball progression. But like I said, it depends on the opposition. When you're playing against a 4-5-1 or a 4-3-3, the opposition will defend in quite a narrow shape like this, bringing the wingers inside a little bit. And when this is the case, the 2-3 shape is perfect, because they're only really pressing with one centre forward. So when you play 2 centre backs, it's really easy to outnumber them and just play the ball forward. And if they do press and try and cut the passing lane one way, then you have an easy ball into the midfield. And this is what we've seen early on from Arsenal. From here, like I said, the opposition will regularly squeeze their wingers in central because they're trying to match up with the fullbacks. But this is where Arsenal are then very good at progressing the ball. So firstly, you've got Thomas Partey, who is a good passer anyway. So there are situations when he is able to find these forward passes like this. But the easier solution is to play the ball to one of the inverted fullbacks. Like I said, these opposition wingers are quite narrow, so then if the Arsenal wingers, Saka and Martinelli, are happy to drop deep, which they are, it gives them an easy way to get the ball like this and then drive at the defence. Now you might say, why isn't the fullback following him into these areas? Well, it's because of the likes of Odegaard and Xhaka taking up high starting positions. So let's say Ben White gets the ball here, Saka comes short. If the fullback comes out and you play a quick pass around the corner, Odegaard is now in a lot of space. So the opposition kind of leave their fullbacks here. Saka is able to get the ball and now turn and drive at this defence. And that's what we're seeing. And we also see the same from Martinelli. He'll get the ball here and then look to drive at the defence or out wide as well. And it's working really well for Arsenal early in the season. And when they are playing these 4-3-3s or these 4-5-1s, Arsenal are finding it really easy to progress the ball. Like I said, the fullbacks come narrow, it drags the opposition narrow, and it gives you an easy method of ball progression out wide. But what about when you play against a slightly different shape? Well, one formation they have faced is more of a 5-3-2 like this. Let's just set it up for a second. And instantly what we can see is that the opposition shape is very different. So now, whereas Arsenal had these channels they were able to exploit, that is no longer the case, because they now have 5 defenders matching up against their 5 forwards. So instantly those channels are no longer available. And then we have this 3 in midfield, which matches, you would think, this 3 here. And then the 2 here, which matches the 2 Arsenal centre-backs. And that is where the first problem may arise. When you play 2 centre-backs against 2 strikers, and the 2 strikers are pressing you, that is of course a man-to-man system, which makes it very difficult for the centre-backs to move the ball. However, with Ben White playing at fullback, Arteta has already made solution. Because Ben White can just easily drop into this area, you now have just 3 outnumbering here and a 2 in midfield here. Almost a Ten Hag shape from Ajax last season, this slightly off-balance 3-2. And this means 2 things. If the strikers continue to press, then Ben White gets the ball, and if not, they sit off, and Arsenal still move the ball forward easily. But a lot of the time they are pressing, and it means that Ben White is able to get the ball into space and then step forward. And the reason that is because of the narrow positioning of the other fullbacks, Zinchenko and Thomas Partey. It means the opposition midfield have to stay narrow. They can't afford to come out here, because again you're leaving space in the middle. And ultimately, a lot of teams are willing to sacrifice the opposition having the ball out wide because it's not as dangerous as having the ball in the middle. Obviously, from the centre, you are closer to the goal. So, teams would rather let Arsenal have the ball out wide than in the centre. So it means these midfielders are pinned inside. We can then see the back 5, or the front 5, sorry, pinning the back 5 like this. And then Ben White in this system against the front 2 is now given the room to step forward with the ball. It could be the other way around, the strikers could press on this side, and then Gabriel is able to step forward with the ball. And sometimes we're seeing it from Saliba as well. And that is the benefit of having good ball-playing defenders. And like I said, whilst it started as a back 4, it now becomes a bit more of a back 3. So we've gone from a 2-3 shape like this into more of a 3-2. But actually from here, the way they progress the ball is still reasonably similar. Like I said, Ben White will step into these areas, where he is now once again playing more as a 2-3. And then it is that pass into the wingers' feet, who are now able to isolate their wing-back or their full-back, whatever you want to call it. And that is Arsenal's main method of ball progression. The other shape we've seen them against is a 4-4-2, so let me put that on screen for you now. It's just a slight tweak. And again, we can now see that these channels open up from an attacking point of view. We've got this area here, 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 and here. These channels have now opened up again. Again, it will be a back 3 with Ben White dropping in to negate this front 2. But the issue comes for the opposition now in this middle area. So when you defend in a 4-4-2, the defensive shape is slightly wider. Whereas, say a 3-man midfield will be quite narrow like this, a 4 tends to be a slightly wider shape. But again, this gives Ben White room here, because Odegaard is distracting this area here. You can't leave Odegaard in space because he is so good. And we've seen already at times teams get it wrong. So this player might press out of midfield, the fullback push high on Saka, but then 2 quick passes and Odegaard is in space. And Odegaard has shown already this season, you cannot leave him in space because he is a wonderfully, wonderfully gifted footballer. The other option is to sit more in this sort of shape here. But again, we have this pass here. Ben White is able to step with the ball, so instantly you are progressing the ball. And now you can move the ball out wide to Saka. Zinchenko can do the same on the other side to Martinelli. To counter that, teams might move slightly more narrow like this. But like I said, it leaves these wide areas open. So if they play wide, Arsenal can progress the ball through the middle, because you've got Xhaka dropping in, Jesus dropping in, Odegaard dropping in. So now you have numerical superiority. Or if they defend in a more narrow shape, then you can progress the ball easily out wide. And Arsenal are doing this really well. The forwards pin nice and high up the pitch, and then allows the other players to drop in and outnumber the opposition almost everywhere on the pitch. Whether it's the back here with the 3, or this 4 shape in midfield, or if they go narrow, then it's out wide. Arsenal are constantly outnumbering the opposition and progressing the ball forward. So having progressed the ball forward, the question for Arsenal is, can they break teams down? And that is, I guess, where the questions lie. The early signs in the season are that the answer is yes. So one way they're doing this is building possession down one side of the pitch. Jesus is being very effective. Lacazette last season is a player that I praised quite a lot for his link play, but he was often doing it in these central areas. Whereas Gabriel Jesus is much more willing to drop into this sort of area here. And what it does is it drags the whole defence across because they can't risk being outnumbered. So Arsenal are able to build these little triangles down here, and that then gives them 2 options. They have the technical quality to play quick 1-2s here, so Martinelli might get the ball, play it to Jesus, and then go back in behind. That's one thing they could do because they do have the technical players to do that. Or the other option is to recycle the ball back a little bit, and then if you look over on the other wing, Bukayo Saka is in a lot of room, and this is the importance of width. Because you pull the team over to one side, we can see that all the defenders are this side of it, up here. So when you pull them across, it then leaves Saka in a lot of room down here. So one switched pass and he is now able to get at the defence. And like I said, Arsenal are constantly pushing and probing and pulling teams from side to side. It can happen the other way as well. Odegaard can come over here, Jesus can come over here. All the opposition switch over, push over to one side like this. but then if the ball gets cycled backwards to Thomas Partey, Martinelli is the open ball on the other side. Now, in terms of what side are they prioritising more, it seems to depend on the opposition, and I think that is Arteta picking out certain weaknesses. So in the first game of the season, it was Martinelli that saw a lot of the ball. In the second game, it was a bit more of an even split. The third game, Saka then had more of the ball, and then in the fourth game against Fulham at the weekend, the split was then much more even again. So I think that is Arteta showing, again, flexibility, but also targeting certain weaknesses in the opposition's defence. And that's a really good thing to see, but it's such an easy switch for them to do because they have so much quality in this attack. Like I said, Jesus is settled in perfectly and is linking the play brilliantly, but also scoring the goals from in the box as well. And actually right now things are just going very, very well for Arsenal. I do think this is quite a big week for them because I've got Aston Villa and then Manchester United, and then the European game starts soon, so perhaps that will be a great test of their squad depth. Someone like Zinchenko, for example, is playing a very big role. He can't play every week. Now, Tierney will come in, he is a good fullback, but he much prefers to play more as a traditional fullback. And against Fulham, he did struggle a little bit as an inverted player, so I think the next couple of weeks will be a test of this Arsenal squad to see the depth, because that's an issue they struggled with last season, and that was without Europe. So I think that's the question for me over them at the moment. We also need to see how they react to conceding a couple of goals and perhaps going behind in a game. But that's not an issue they've had to face at the moment, and that is a credit to them. Everyone else in the Premier League has conceded goals, gone behind in games. Arsenal aren't really doing that. They're not really giving teams a chance. Leicester had a bit of a fight back against them. But in general, they're just playing very, very good football. They're progressing the ball well. Like I said, they're pinning teams back, progressing the ball, and then there's flexibility when they come up against different shapes and situations. And I'm actually just really, really impressed with what I've seen early on in the season, and I'm sure Arsenal fans are as well. If you are an Arsenal fan, let me know what you think in the comments down below. What are you excited about? What is pleasing you? And also, what are your concerns moving forward? And actually, what are your predictions? How well can this Arsenal side do? Can they stay top of the league for the rest of the season? Personally, I don't think they can. I don't think they quite have the pure quality in depth. But let me know what you think. Perhaps they could do it. But yeah, overall, that is what my current thoughts on the team. Like I said, we might see more problems arise as we move forward into the coming weeks where squad depth is tested and you might see some slightly tougher opposition. But at the moment, you can only beat what's in front of you, and Arsenal have beaten every team. They've started the season on fire, they're playing well, they're scoring me points in fantasy football, all the important stuff. So yeah, I think Arsenal have had a brilliant start to the season. Now we have to wait and see if it continues. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.